Harvard University and the Trump administration are now facing off in a federal courthouse in Boston. Harvard's challenging the administration for freezing more than $2 billion in grants. Harvard's attorney says that the federal funding cuts imposed by the administration threaten vital research in medicine, science, and technology. No ruling has been made in the case yet, but the president preemptively lashed out at Harvard in social media posts, calling the university anti-Semitic, anti-Christian, and anti-American.
All right, so they're going to bring in Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes. The Trump administration lawyers are saying this isn't a First Amendment issue. This is a contract dispute. That's their argument that they've brought before a judge. So why would they make that argument?
I mean, because that's the only argument that you can attempt to win. If you're not going to be able to win the First Amendment argument, which you clearly can't, you got to figure out something. I've said this a number of times before in the past, that Trump has a number of attorneys that are around him prior to him becoming the president, Trump. And so in the same capacity, he's got these attorneys that are there and they're charged with, hey, go find a way to get to where I'm trying to get. If Harvard or any of these colleges aren't going to do what I want them to do, then let's find a legal remedy to doing it. So if they're not going to, do more things with diversity, equity, and inclusion, because that was the bulk of the argument. So now we'll jump to this anti-Semitic. You guys aren't doing enough on the anti-Semitism, and so now we'll say we'll take the funding. You haven't, turned over the names or list of people that are participating in these protests. You haven't turned over the names or list of folks that are doing any of these anti-Semitic things on campus. Okay, great. We'll pull your funding. They first sent them a letter. Harvard said, thank you for your advisory letter, but we're not going to do that. We're not going to turn over this information so that you can in turn attempt to try to deport these folks that are coming here to get some access to a better education. And so I think this was a next step in their attempt to try to push Harvard to doing what they want them to do. But Harvard has the resources to fight. Largest endowment in the country, $52 billion, B with the billion. So for sure, I don't think that this fight is going to be one that the Trump administration will be successful in. I mean, if I'm looking at the historical portion of this argument with the First Amendment, which this is a First Amendment case, it clearly will be in Harvard's interest. The government is appointed to national security. Harvard points back and says, well, how do you even connect the two dots between what we're doing in any of this for national security and the lack of our control of anti-Semitism on the campus? The judge is asking the exact same thing. So what does Trump do in response? He posts that this Trump is a very bad, terrible judge. That's the normal response, that I don't like what this judge is doing, so then I get a judge that I want, and then I'll praise him. And that's the rhetoric that we've seen over the last couple of attempts with these type of complaints that the Trump administration has brought.
Well, and not just judges, Khalif, but part of Trump's success legally has been certain venues where certain cases take place. And part of the battle here is whether it should be heard in a courtroom or the court of federal claims. Why does venue matter when it comes to this type of case?
Well, venue matters in any case. I mean, obviously, if I got an opportunity to get a judge that's more leaning towards my philosophy, my thought process, then it starts off earlier. So you start with these U.S. district courts, and it goes to the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court. But if I got an opportunity to not have to go that route, I can. The Trump administration wants to go there. They believe that that judge will be more inclined to listen to that argument that Andy was talking about, not the First Amendment argument, but a contract argument. The Trump administration, I think, will be not successful with attempting to get in that court, and that's why it will stay in the court that it was filed in. This case is not just only Harvard, but it's also researchers that brought this claim on behalf of their charter and their chapter of researchers across the country. They've consolidated those claims. So for those reasons, all of the parties involved, except for the Trump administration, recognizes that this is a First Amendment claim. Now, do you have what it takes to be successful in defending, or I should say defeating that claim? Do you have a compelling public interest? Is it narrowly tailored? Have you been able to, is the least restrictive means for you to attempt to do what you're asking them to do? So you're saying, I want you to not, and to quell and to stop anti-Semitic behavior on your campus. Is there an easier way? Is there a least intrusive way than taking your funding? That's what the court will ask, and I'm pretty sure there are other ways to get there than saying taking their money.
All right, even one of the points the judge brought up was, what does the claims of anti-Semitism have to do with cancer research funding? But Khalif, I want to ask, why do you think this is going to take so much time to figure out? The judge said probably shouldn't expect a decision for a while. it seems pretty clean cut.
It does, but I mean, I can just go to my last hearing the other day. We presented evidence to the court. The court reviewed them, came back and said, you know what? I need about 2 or 3 more hours to review this. We end up being there for 8 hours for that day. A judge wants to make sure they get it right. They don't want to be overturned, and so I appreciate that. Take your time. Read the cases that I present to you, and see if they apply to the facts. So if you need to take weeks, months, or whatever to give me an answer, I'd rather you do that than give me a quick no.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.